Hey guys, my name is Carter. This here is my trusty 4Runner Roxy, and today I'm going to do a walk around to show you what it's all about. Starting off with a bit of general information about this truck. It is a third generation 4Runner, as you can see, a year 2000, and I'm pretty sure the trim is either a Sport or Highlander edition, as it was unofficially badged. You can tell because it does have the Sport hood, and it does have all the package features that came with the Sport edition. That being said, when I got this truck, it did not have the rear e-locker, so not 100% on the trim. Either way, when people ask, I just say it's a Sport edition because it sounds fancy. Starting from the bottom up, I just have these stock rims that came with the truck. Ended up painting them black with Plastidip, and around that we have the General Grabber ATX 285/75 R16, otherwise known as a 33, or very close to it. To get this thing lifted and off the ground, I have a set of Bilstein and Toytech 3-inch lift. It was cheap. It doesn't ride the best, it's a bit stiff, but it does give me that ground clearance I need, both to clear the wheels as well as to just give me that extra height for off-road. Nothing fancy for upper control arms, I'm just running stock. So far I've had no issues with it, I've been able to align it, and there's no reason to update that yet. Also on here, to space out the wheels, I have Spider Tracks 1 1/4 hub-centric spacers. I know there's kind of a lot of controversy on whether you should run wheel spacers or not. I've personally run them for about a year and a half, and I have plenty of friends who've done the same. So far, zero issues. One thing I'd highly recommend for anyone running above probably a 2-inch lift, I would say, is these fancy silicone inner seat V-boots. As soon as I put on my 3-inch lift, I think it was literally the same day, my CV boots ripped, and I ran them like that for a year. It wasn't an issue, but I ended up finding these. I think it was about 60 bucks a side, a bit pricey, but installed those. I've had them on for many months now, and they have not ripped, zero issues, and they're working great. All right, let's move on up to all the fun stuff. This is my Addicted Off-Road 2 bumper. It was pretty cheap, and I love the look of it. Attached to that, I have a Smittybilt X2O wireless and fully synthetic line winch. I'm just running the stock fairlead and all that stuff, but it's worked great the few times that I've had to use it. Up here, I got some aftermarket blinkers, which I don't really need because I also have the blinkers linked to these halos as well. Up here, mostly for night driving, I have these 2 Baja Design Squadron lights. They are a dual pattern, so they have a flood as well as a driving beam. And they're awesome. I mean, I didn't think I'd need them, and driving at night with them, it's a night and day difference. I use them all the time, sometimes even alone without my headlights. Speaking of headlights, I have these BX Built bi-LED projectors. You definitely can buy them from BX Built directly. I personally built these myself just because it was a little cheaper and I enjoy doing projects like that. You can see I have them blacked out, got some halos on them, and they're amazing. If you're looking for an aftermarket set of headlights, I highly recommend these. Send BX Built a message on Instagram and he'll get you hooked up. Up front here, this is not an SRQ grill, although it looks exactly like it. I actually built this myself. It's got a Toyota logo on here, got a couple little lights, just Raptor lights. They're for show and nothing else. Under the hood here, we have these Spiker Engineering hood struts. This is actually one of the very first modifications I did to this truck, and if you're doing any engine work, even if you're just checking your oil levels, whatever you need to do to raise your hood, these things are awesome. Up top here, we have a Scarab Off-Road Technologies underhood lighting kit that I actually got to be part of designing and building. It's, again, super awesome if you're doing any engine work whatsoever. I actually just did my timing belt recently, and I had this thing on for the whole time for the several days that I was working on it. It helped a ton. Over here on the passenger side, we have another Scarab product. This is the washer relocation kit, and if you're doing any sort of aftermarket bumper or anything like I have, I would say it's a must. The stock tank just kind of hangs down and gets in the way. This is a super clean way to sort of relocate that. Got this awesome Scarab logo there, and of course the best part, Jeep cheers. Over on the driver's side, I have my jungle of electrical here. This is a custom panel that I built. It's just bent steel, and I painted it, which holds all my fuses and relays and auxiliary boxes, all that crap. This is the auxiliary box I have for my aux beam, which is just a little control panel inside the dash. And I think that's pretty much it. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on this because it is very in-depth. I'll probably end up doing a separate video, but you'll see a little bit more of that once we go to the rear. Other than that, most everything under here is stock, just the stock 5VZ FE. Super reliable engine. She's got about 212,000 miles on her, but she is clean as ever. Just did the timing belt, just did the valve cover gaskets, new steering rack, new steering fluid. All the fluids flushed, and she's running great. Coming over to the sides, we have 4X Innovation rock sliders with the kick out for side protection. These things were actually super cheap. I think they're about 250 bucks, which is kind of insane for rock sliders. Granted, you do have to weld on the legs as well as weld them to the body and of course paint them, but I think it was well worth it. For some reason we had a hard time welding them to the body. It didn't seem to want to stick, but the main thing is they are functional. Trust me, I've tested them out. Around back we have this nice swing out rear bumper. Again, it is a 4X Innovations product. I actually got this one from Alex Fleming. You probably know him by Flemster on Instagram, and I don't know, I think it's kind of cool seeing it go from one silver 3rd gen to, you guessed it, another silver 3rd gen. Okay guys, I'm really excited to show you this next one. Well guys, I'm pretty proud of this one. As you can see, it is a full sliding drawer system, dual slide out locking drawers, and I built it all myself. If you hadn't noticed by now, I took a lot of inspiration from Trekbox. Trekbox is an insane company. They have some wild products and super high quality stuff. Granted, they are pretty expensive, as well as the main thing, they don't have a product like this for the 3rd generation 4Runner. With that in mind, I took a lot of inspiration from them, started building, and this is what I came up with. Now, I'm not going to go into crazy detail because I will have a separate video out on this, as well as actually a full build tutorial. But this is the basic setup. Over here, I have my main sliding drawer. This has a ton of room for camping gear and toiletries and tools and whatnot. Slide that in. Over here, I have my slide out for the fridge. This is a pretty small fridge, but it takes all I need, and super easy access with this. You can just pop it up and it's right there. I have my cutting boards here. These cutting boards, again, under here, houses different stuff, dry goods. I have my stove in there, and you can also transfer these cutting boards over to that drawer if you want. On the right side here, I have a switch for my inverter, which is powered under this little hatch here. I have a whole charging station, which has AC outlets, USB, and all that for all my drone stuff and camera stuff. Over here, it's actually buried under all my dry goods, but there is another panel which powers a battery bank back there, which powers the fridge, and that's all on accessory power. Again, I will be going into much more detail on a separate video. Now, I got some pretty cool features on this rear hatch I want to go over. The first one being this. This is the Let Me Out mod. You can find the Let Me Out mod on Instagram. Reach out to the guys, they're super awesome. I personally reached out to them and asked them for one of these because I did a lot of camping in the back of my truck. Since then, I've moved on to the rooftop tent, which we'll get to in a second. But if you're doing any sort of car camping, this thing is amazing. You get up in the morning, pull this, your rear hatch opens, and you step right on out into the wilderness. You also notice up here, I have these little things. Those are all LEDs. Got these off of Amazon. They're super tiny and very flush, which is exactly what I was looking for. And over here, I've routed this down. Light switch turns those on, either white, or you switch it the other way, and they go to amber. Unfortunately, this is super hard to see in the daytime like this, but it gives plenty of light at night, lights up the kitchen, and if you want to do a little bit of a stealth mode, I have the ambers. It's very easy on the eyes. Next to that light switch, you'll also notice another switch right there. Now check this out. This is actually technically another Scarab product, although it never got released to market. This is a window roll down switch. Again, if you're doing any car camping in the back, this is a super useful mod. I use this all the time if it was the middle of the night, let in some fresh air, or whatever else you wanted. Unfortunately, I can't direct you to any sort of link as to where to get that because, like I said, it was never officially released, but it's one of my favorite mods. Again, if you're doing any sort of car camping, it is awesome. Up here on top, we have a Prinzu full-length roof rack. Now, I know there are a lot of options for roof racks, but my main thing about the Prinzu is it's a very low profile, and knowing I was going to do a rooftop tent, that was pretty important for me to keep everything as short as possible. Last but not least, up here, I have my rooftop tent. Now this here is my rooftop tent. It's an area BFE hardtop, what I like to call pizza style, where it has a hinge on one end, pops up, and looks like a big pizza slice. There are many different styles of tents, different openings, different prices, different colors, etc., etc. Because I'm on the road so much and literally using this every day, I went with this style and brand because, well, it's just the fastest on the market, honestly. It takes about a minute to set up and a little over that to shut it back down, which is critical when you're on the road every single day. There is a lot to talk about for rooftop tents in general and also this one specifically, so I will have a separate video just on this. But for now, I can say I've had it for about a week. It's awesome. I love sleeping up top. This thing is insanely comfortable. I literally just have it set up as if it were a bed at home, and I couldn't be happier with it. Alright guys, well that is going to wrap up this walk around. I know there's some things that I didn't cover, and like I said, I'll have some individual videos for the tent, drawer build, electrical, that kind of thing. I think you would find that helpful. That being said, if there were any little details or whatever, something I skipped over or missed, don't hesitate to drop that down in the comments below, and I'll try to find that and answer those questions for you. As always, I'm Carter. This is Roxy, signing off. We'll see you next time on the trails.